I think looking inside and looking internally and seeing what are the areas of your life that you want to improve internally is just as, if not more important. Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Felicia, this is The Feminine Fancy, and if you are new here, hi, hello, welcome. If you like things having to do with femininity, lifestyle, and just general life advice, then this is the channel for you. So hit that red subscribe button if you feel so inclined. And if you're not new, thank you guys so much for coming back and for being a part of the Fancy family. I love you guys so very much. Today's video was voted on by my amazing patrons. You know who you are. And the topic is how to have an internal glow up. So a couple of years ago, and even last year, I would say, the whole topic of glowing up was really popular. And I really enjoyed watching all of those videos and all of the sort of like transformation videos, people saying like, I spent $1,000 on a glow up overnight, and they would go get their nails done and stuff. Like, that was fun. I liked watching those. And I think it's fun to sort of look back and look at the areas and the elements of your life that you want to improve upon, or that you want to make better in some way. And I know I've said this in videos before, and I hope I'm not starting to sound like a broken record, but I do think we normally tend to focus on the outer, and people are really hyper focused on what we look like and all of those sorts of things, which I think is fine, and it's okay if you want to change up your look. That's great. I think looking inside and looking internally and seeing what are the areas of your life that you want to improve internally is just as, if not more important. So that's what we're going to be talking about in today's video. If you are not a patron and you've never considered becoming a patron, head over to my Patreon and see if you like it. We do all sorts of fun things over there. You get access to a really great Facebook group. You also get access to doing our 10-day challenges, which we are in the middle of one right now, and it's been so much fun. You also get to vote on video topics, and you get additional videos. Like, you get so much over there. So check that out. The link will be in the description box below. All right, so let's begin. The first thing that I think is the most important when you're looking into having an internal glow up is, of course, gratitude. And again, I know I sound like a broken record at this point, but gratitude really is so important, and it's really life-changing. You really start to see yourself and your life differently when you have gratitude and when you're grateful for the things that you do have, instead of always being focused on the things that you don't have. I talked in my last video about how I think it's really important to have a gratitude journal, just to write down some things that you're grateful for, make a mental note, and remember those things on the days where you don't feel very grateful. And I think it is okay to acknowledge the fact that there are some days when we're not going to be just like bursting and beaming with positivity and gratitude. Like, I don't think that that's realistic. And I think it's normal to have some days where you sink into comparison, or you sink into feeling like, this isn't good enough, which is sad that we do that. And I think it's really important to keep things in perspective always. And a really great way to do that is by having gratitude for what you already have. And I also want to mention, though, that it is good, it is great to have goals and to have things that you want to accomplish. I have goals, I have dreams, and things that I'm really excited about in my future. But I think that there's a fine line between having those goals and dreams and being so fixated on those goals and dreams that you don't see the beauty in your life for what it is right now. I know that many of you can be going through a difficult time, whatever that may be, and so it can be really hard to find something to be grateful for. Like, honestly, sometimes maybe you're just not grateful for anything, and I think we need to normalize that as well. There are really difficult times in life where you're just like, yeah, I wish I was not going through this, and I think that that's okay as well. And when you have those moments, don't torture yourself by minimizing your pain, but instead find ways to manage it and to get through it and to get to a place where you feel gratitude. I have never been one on the toxic positivity train of like just, being so overly positive even when I'm like dying inside. I don't do that. I don't play those games. We don't do that here. If I'm feeling really like tormented inside, or if I'm feeling really sad, or if I'm feeling whatever it might be, I turn to other practices and other tools that I have, things that I've learned in therapy to work through that. I don't just jump to, oh, well, if I'm just grateful for all that I have, then it's gonna solve my problems. Of course, gratitude helps you keep things in perspective, but I do think that it's okay to have off days. It's okay to have days where you're not happy with your life, like for whatever reason. I'm also not in the business of comparing trauma. So whatever it is that you're going through, it's a fine line of being like, oh, well, it could be worse. You could be, somewhere in this other place, suffering. But trauma is trauma, and just because you might have a certain privilege in one area does not mean that you don't also have a trauma in another area. And so I'm not in the business of comparing trauma. I am, however, in the business of letting you know that one, it is okay to go to therapy. It is okay to seek out help when you feel mentally exhausted and drained and like your resources are just tapped out. But two, to also remind you that you can also have gratitude for the good things that are in your life if you do feel that you have good things in your life right now. And sometimes those things are hard to identify, and that's why having a professional to work with is really important. And no, this is not like a BetterHelp ad, but I do think that going to therapy and having an unbiased party who can help you see things more clearly can help you to have more gratitude in your life. But I really don't want you to think that you have to always feel grateful and always feel excited and happy and pumped up, because that's just not realistic. But there are ways that you can start to feel gratitude through using different tools and practices that you can learn in therapy. Okay, the next way to have an internal glow up is to start the day on purpose. So a lot of times when we wake up in the morning, we're not really starting the day on purpose, if that makes sense. Like, we're just letting it happen to us. Like, we've gone to sleep, we've woken up, and now here we are again. A few ways that we can start the day on purpose is by taking some time before we actually jump into the meat and potatoes of the day. So whether that's journaling, whether that's meditating, whether that is just like sitting in your kitchen with hot tea or hot coffee or warm lemon water and just like being a little bit silent before you actually start your day, I think sets you up for a good day, a good week, and ultimately a good month. And remember, how you spend the small moments of your day is how you spend the duration of your life. So if you wake up, and I'm talking to myself right now, but if you wake up and the first thing that you do is grab your phone, that's how you're spending your life. You're spending your life looking at your phone first thing in the morning. And personally, that's not what I want to do. So start your day on purpose. Think of something that you want to do in order to sort of like mark it as the beginning of your day. Like, now I'm ready to start my day. You can do yoga. There's a really good 10-minute yoga practice that I do pretty often by Yoga with Cassandra. Love her. I think I talked about it over the summer. I'm still doing that same one. I love it so much. But it really just helps to signify like, okay, I'm easing into the start of my day. I'm not letting my day just happen to me. I'm happening to my day. I'm starting my day on purpose. The next way to have an internal glow up is to take time for yourself. So I know the term self-care gets thrown around all the time, everywhere, every 5 seconds, self-care Sunday, self-care this, self-care that. And don't get me wrong, I love self-care. I love a good bubble bath, I will admit. But I think the thing that we all love about self-care, more than the sort of luxurious aspect of like taking a bubble bath, is the fact that we're just spending time by ourselves. A lot of our time, even though it might not seem like it, but a lot of our time is spent with other people, whether that is online, whether that is on the phone. Even if you're not texting or calling your own friends and family, you are on Instagram, or you are on TikTok, or you are on YouTube, always hearing things, always invested in someone else's life and what someone else is doing. And I think that's totally okay. We all do it, and it's okay to a point. But I think the thing about taking time for yourself is that you're also just taking time by yourself. You are allowing yourself to be with your thoughts and to think your thoughts and to, sort them out and really just be with yourself and have that one-on-one time that we just so often don't give ourselves. This could really look like anything. It doesn't have to look like what self-care looks like to me or on Pinterest. It can look like genuinely anything, but I think taking time to be with yourself and taking time to take care of yourself is what's really going to help you have that internal glow up. Because if you're not comfortable hanging out with yourself, like, what are you doing? If you're not comfortable hanging out with just yourself and being alone with your thoughts, then there are bigger issues here, because you have to get comfortable being with you. At the end of the day, you are with you. Like, you have you. And you have your friends and your family and your husband and your boyfriend and this person and that person as well. But at the end of the day, when you are going to sleep at night or when you are by yourself, you are alone with your own thoughts. And so it's important to get comfortable by yourself and to enjoy your own company and to really relish the time that you have to yourself and by yourself and start to enjoy it. In the Patreon community right now, we're actually going through a 10-day femininity and homemaking challenge. And last night's challenge was as simple as going to bed earlier, because I know for me, I can spend hours staying up at night doing God knows what, editing videos, scrolling on TikTok, like just doing whatever. And so self-care to me and taking care of myself to me looks like going to bed earlier. And that's why I put it on the challenge list of things that we are all doing. It can look like that. It can be as simple as just going to bed earlier, but taking care of yourself, taking time for yourself is a really beneficial way to glow up internally. The next way that you can glow up internally is to eat more whole foods. Not necessarily shop at Whole Foods, even though I do love Whole Foods, but to eat more whole, natural foods. There's so much that we don't know about the connection between the mind and the gut, and the connection between what we eat and how we feel. But I think as more research is coming out now, we're learning so much more. We're learning about inflammatory foods, and we're learning about like why so many of us have anxiety and depression, and we're learning about the deficiencies in our foods and all of these things. And so where you can get nutrients, run in that direction, because it's going to help you so much. When you are eating a healthy diet, when you are including healthy fats and proteins and carbohydrates, you're really able to nourish not only your body, but your mind and your soul and your spirit as well. What we put into our bodies is so very important, and it really does have an effect on how we feel. Like, that's not just, that's not just like, you know, woo, science. It's legitimate. There's a book that I've been wanting to read for a really long time. So if any of you have read it, comment down below. And I believe it's called The Mind-Gut Connection. And from what I understand, it really does just kind of talk about how our gut is like our second brain, and making sure that you're getting foods with lots of probiotics and taking care of your gut health is so beneficial and is really good at combating some of these other issues like anxiety and and depression. And I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nutritionist, and I don't want to say that this is medical advice at all. And obviously I know that there are, different severities of cases when it comes to mental health. And so of course, talk to your physician and discuss what's the best course of action for you. We do know that there is a connection between the mind and the gut, and how what we eat affects how we feel. So do your best to incorporate some whole foods. How can you incorporate healthier practices into your diet? Look on Pinterest, get some good ideas for recipes that you can try and cook. Again, on the first day of the Femininity and Homemaking Challenge, we all made a meal from scratch. And the night before we started, I actually made pasta from scratch, which was amazing and so delicious. And so if you can make things from scratch, if you can make things at home that are nutrient dense, that are nutritious, you can really start to have that internal glow up as far as your gut and your mind and just your overall health is concerned. The next way to have an internal glow up is to feel your feelings. Now, I don't like this phrase. I hear people say this phrase all the time, and it's just so cringy to me, but I don't know another way of saying this. Feel your feelings. As I mentioned earlier, I'm not in the business of toxic positivity. I'm not in the business of pretending like things are fine when they are not. And I do think it's important overall to just be authentic and honest about how you are feeling about anything, about any given problem, topic or issue that you are going through. If you allow yourself to be inauthentic, to lie about it, to say everything's fine when everything is not fine, I guarantee you it's going to come back and it's going to eat you up in some way. It's going to haunt you in some way. It's going to make, like, you're going to have a sort of outburst of some kind just because you are hiding things and you are brushing things under the rug, and it can only stay there for so long. If there are things that you need to get off your chest, people that you want to apologize to, people that, you know, you feel like you have an issue with, all of those sorts of things, figure out how you can sort through that. Figure out, you know, do you need to write a letter to them and send it or not send it, you know, burn it or something? Do you need to have a good cry? Just like a good, you know, those cries, just like a good release it all cry. Like sometimes there are just so many things built up, and because we don't want to feel our feelings, because we don't want to admit that everything's not perfect, it comes back and it haunts us, and it, you know, turns into a bigger problem than it would have been if we would have just allowed ourselves to be vulnerable and to be honest about how we're feeling. So deal with your feelings, go to therapy, talk to a trusted person who can really help you sort through those things. But the last thing that you should do is act like those things aren't there and act like everything is perfect, because that's just not gonna help. It's not gonna help the situation. And finally, the last way to have an internal glow up is to talk to yourself kindly and to talk to yourself happily. I've said before on this channel, if you wouldn't say it to your best friend, don't say it to yourself. We can often be really hard on ourselves and really critical and just pick apart ourselves and say things that we would never dare say to our best friend. But for some reason, it's okay for us to say it to ourselves. Be really intentional about the way that you speak about yourself, the way you speak to yourself, and about the way that you speak about your position in life, because what you speak comes to fruition. Like, it really truly does. And if you are speaking into existence constantly things that you don't like about yourself, things that you don't like about your life, that's just what is going to be your reality. Speak to yourself well. Speak to yourself in a healthy and happy way. Compliment yourself. Don't feel like you can't be proud of yourself or you can't be excited about your accomplishments or anything. Speak happiness and speak love when you are talking about yourself and about your life, because that is what will come to fruition and that is what you will focus on. And when you put out that energy into the world, you're gonna get it right back. So when you're talking about yourself, when you're talking about your life, your goals, speak positivity around them and life and love. And don't talk to yourself in a way that you would not talk to your best friend or someone that you love. All right, my loves, that's it for this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up. Leave a comment down below. How do you plan to have an internal glow up? What did I miss? Leave your suggestions in the comments below. You can find me on Instagram at _thefemininefancy_, and you can also find me on my website at thefemininefancy.com. Okay, I love you guys so much, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.